Next up is Nate in California. How you doing, Nate?
Hello, Nate.
Hey guys, how are you?
Hello. There.
Oh, there he is. Hey.
Hello.
Good.
Can you hear me at all or no?
Yeah, sure can.
Yeah.
Oh, great. Fantastic. So, Jim, I know you're one of the hosts. Who's the other person? I'm sorry, I didn't quite look that.
Forrest.
I didn't.
Hi, my name's Forrest.
And I was strange. Forrest, good to meet you.
Yeah.
So my question really is, really quickly, is from a standpoint of being, I'm an atheist, right? So as far as a theist God is concerned, it's pretty straightforward, right? To say that, hey, there isn't, a theist God is by definition intervening and stuff like that. So, but so far we haven't seen any evidence for one that is empirical.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't have a reason to believe in a theist God, right? So
Yeah.
that's very clear. That's out of the way. But my question really was about a deist God, right? So when you talk about a deist God, technically this God is someone who sits outside the microwave, right? He pushes the button and everything inside the microwave, the universe, unfolds. So for organisms inside the microwave, there is no way to know what's happened on the outside. I mean, the deist God doesn't intervene, right? Technically, from what I understand. Given that, is it a valid stand to have to say that, hey, I sit right in the middle, 50% agnostic, to say that I believe as much as I don't in a deist God, right in the middle. Is that a valid stand to take, or am I having some kind of a brain slip? I'm not able to think this through.
It's a true-false proposition, and so it depends on what you mean by 50-50. Some people might define 50-50 as being I don't know enough to make a decision. It could go either way, in which case I don't know is a perfectly valid stance to take on any proposition. When the proposition is either true or false, there is either a deist type God or there isn't. I don't know how you can be 50-50 on that. I mean, you can be, I don't know, but, or I don't care. But I don't know what 50-50 means in that case, right? To say that, because the proposition is either true and you accept it, or the proposition is false and you reject it, or you don't know, or you just don't have enough information to make a decision. So those are the three normal positions to take on any stance. So what do you mean by 50%?
Yes. So by 50%, what I mean is to say that, let's say on a scale of 1 to 7, right, on the Dawkins kind of a scale. On a theist God, you can always go up to a 6 to say, or more to say, hey, I'm a non-believer, so there's no evidence. But when it comes to a deist God, does it make sense to say, I'm a 4, right? Because I can not, there's no way I'm ever going to get evidence for a deist God, even if there was one, because technically that God doesn't have anything to do with the world that's unfolding once he kicked it off, right? So there's no way for me to know at all. So
yeah, my biggest thing about
that. Be on a 1 or a 6? Yeah, that's my.
I would say personally, I wouldn't even give it a number for the same reason that when you talk about like what happened before the Big Bang, something like that, right? You're asking what happened before time started. You're asking what happened before the concept of before meant anything. That question makes no sense. It isn't even, you're not allowed to ask it almost. You know what I mean? It's a meaningless thing. It's like asking, what does purple smell like? It's just, what does that even mean? So I see that the same way. You talk about someone standing outside the microwave and pushing the button. By the way, love that analogy. Never heard that before. That's fantastic. You would have to then not only say that there is such a thing as before time, as outside of the universe, as whatever, but that you have a way to measure that and tell that that's a thing. And even if you want to say, well, I can't know either direction, I can't know if it is or it isn't, so therefore I kind of have this neutral in-between position, you then have to justify the fact that you're talking about a claim that's unfalsifiable. When you hear people talk about whether or not we're living in a simulation, for example, I could give you proof positive that we are not living in a simulation, if I could somehow produce something that could show you beyond a shadow of a doubt that we are not in a video game right now, you could then turn around and say, yeah, that's part of the game. That's part of the simulation. That's coded in. If you were to wake up from the simulation like Neo and all of a sudden discover that your whole life was as part of this computer program, then you would say, okay, I have just woken up into the next part of the simulation. That was one chapter, one level, and now I'm in level 2, you know? So like, this is an unfalsifiable thing. It's something that you could never prove right or wrong. There's no amount of evidence in any way that would ever work. So it's really just not worth thinking about or bothering yourself with. There's no reason to give yourself a rating on this scale, because the scale is nonsensical by itself with this question. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that does. It definitely does. And I am, I was thinking, I'm thinking more a little bit, probably not as refined as you are, but more or less like what you are. The only submission I had there was to say that I know that the deist God, like you, the way you put it is to say this is something that precedes time itself in some sense, right? So there's no way for you to know at all. And I am all the way there with you in that spot. But because that is the case, what I'm also thinking is pushing it a little bit further and saying, I will never, ever, or no one can never, ever know if there is a deist God at all or not. Doesn't mean there isn't one, doesn't mean there is one, right? Yeah. So you just don't know. And I mean, a fair position to take there would say, I just don't know, of course, which means it could be anything. It could be yes or no. It's as good as a coin toss.
Mm-hmm. Right. And that, well, then that also the next thing I would ask you is like, what my whole point there was like kind of not bothering with it, but you're right. You could never know. In the same way, if I told you I have an elephant behind these bookshelves, you'll never know if that's true. Mm-hmm. And you're the question you could say the positions you could take is yes, there is, or no, there isn't. And both of those require evidence. Or you could say, as you just did, I don't know. The question is, how much stock are you going to put in that? How much of your life is going to be based around that? Are you going to introduce yourself to people saying, you know, hey, my name's whatever, and I do this for a living, and also I'm pretty sure there's not an elephant, but I'm not really sure. Or are you just going to ignore that entirely and not put any stock in it whatsoever? So like, I just asked you, why would you care about that any more than anything else that I could possibly present to you, you know?
That's a really nice argument. I mean, it doesn't impact my life or anyone else's in any way at all. So
exactly.
Why bother so much about it?
It's interesting. It's intellectually honest to say I don't know, but then that's where the conversation should lose all importance. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, guys. No, cool. I was trying to validate the veracity of how I'm thinking. Because you guys do the thinking, right? You guys do it for I don't know, for a living or not, but you guys do it much more than I do. I do something else. So yeah, but thank you for your opinion. That's helpful.
Thank you so much for asking, Nate. It was an awesome question. Thank you so much for bringing it up.
Yep.
All right. Have a good day.
Goodbye.
Cheers.